Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. Myself Pyq Sarkar, and this is the fifth part of the PIQ series. So here I am going to discuss the PIQ of June 2008 English paper with little explanation, and then I will try to explain and add information as much as I know. So let's start. So here is our first question number 1, which is Tennyson's poem about women's right and women's pair is. So Tennyson's poem about women's right and women's pair. So the right answer will be the Princess. Princess is a serio-comic blank verse narrative poem published in 1847. So it is a serio-comic blank verse narrative poem published in 1847. Tennyson was poet laureate of UK from 1850 to 1892 and remains one of the most popular English poet. So this poem Tennyson talk about women's right and women's pair, and you can see his other works are Maud, then In Memoriam, his famous line. In this time also they asked one quote from In Memoriam, then Idylls of the King. Then Hymn to Adversity is a poem by, so it is a poem by Thomas Gray. The allegorical ode Hymn to Adversity was written in 1753, was written by poet and literary scholar Thomas Gray, who was born in 1716 and died in 1771. He is widely known for his poem Elegy written in a country churchyard. So as you know that Thomas Gray is very much famous for his poem Elegy written in a country churchyard, which was published in 1751. Here Hymn to Adversity also written by Thomas Gray. Then the next question, the King Bible was published. So King James Bible, and it was published in 1611, right? The King James James Version, which is in abbreviation, in short form it is said KJV, also published as the authorized version. So it is also the authorized version, or King James Bible is an English translation of the Christian Bible for the Church of England, begun in 1604, completed in 1611. The poem KJV include the 39 books of Old Testament and 27 of New Testament. So there are 39 books from Old Testament and 27 books from New Testament. King James himself collected all these writers, and he in his authority that this Bible was written. Okay. Then Migilor Fabro is expression Iliad used for. So everyone know that it is used for Ezra Pound, because Ezra Pound edited his poem The Wasteland. It was much longer, and he cut it into 404 line, right? So T.S. Eliot used these above expression for Ezra Pound for his role as an editor of The Wasteland. So T.S. Eliot wrote it much longer, but he edited it and cut down it. So he called him Miguel or Fabro. Then the next question, which the figure of a poem makes is an essay by. So the figure of a poem makes is an essay by Robert Frost. He was born in 1874 and died in 1963. So this is an essay by Robert Frost. He was an American poet. He is highly regarded for his realistic depiction of rural life and his command of American colloquial speech. So Robert Frost wrote this essay, The Figure of a Poem Makes. Then ripens is all occurs in. So ripens is all, this quotation occurs in King Lear in Act 4, Scene 2, which was written by, as you know, that William Shakespeare. And Edgar said these lines to Gloucester. So Edgar says this line to Gloucester, which is ripeness is all. Then A.C. Bradley's Shakespearean tragedy was published in, so it was published in 1904. Andrew Silas Bradley, who was born in 1851 and died in 1935, was an English literary scholar best remembered for his work on Shakespeare. So A.C. Bradley is best remembered for his criticism to Shakespeare, which is Shakespearean tragedy. His two major works are Shakespearean tragedy, which was published in 1904, and Oxford Lectures on Poetry, which was published in 1909. So you know that he is a new critic. So his two famous writings are Shakespearean tragedy and Oxford Lectures on Poetry. Then Topsy. Topsy appears in Uncle Tom's Cabin. Uncle Tom's Cabin, or Life Among Lovely, is an anti-slavery novel by American author Harriet Beecher Stowe, and it was published in 1852. The novel helped lay the groundwork for the Civil War, according to Will Kaufman. So Topsy, this character appears in Uncle Tom's Cabin, and it was published in 1852, and it was written by a author who is Harriet Beecher Stowe. She was a famous writer. She was a black writer. The novels helped lay the groundwork for the Civil War, according to Will Kaufman. So his Uncle Tom's Cabin is a famous work. Her Uncle Tom's Cabin. Then the poem that captures the essence of a moment in a simple image is, so it is called haiku. Haiku is a Japanese poem. So haiku is a traditional form of Japanese poetry. Haiku poems consist 3 lines. So it has only 3 lines, and the first and last lines have 5 syllables, and middle line had 7. So first and last line or third line had 5 syllables, and in middle line they had 7 syllables. The lines rarely rhyme. So the lines rarely rhyme. So it is a Japanese poem, and it is called haiku. Then chronological question. So they asked, most of the time they asked Shakespeare's plays in chronology. So you should know it, that Romeo and Juliet is an earlier work, and it is published in 1595, and Richard the Second also published in 1595. So maybe this question is wrong here. Then Merchant of Venice 1598, and Henry IV Part 1 is published in 1600. Then the poem Nature in the 18th century literature stands for, so it stands for human nature. The word nature in the 18th century literature stands for human nature, not the real nature. So this is no such evidence, but during 18th century Romanticism used to rule over human beings. Hence it can be said that human nature is the best answer among all. Then who is given credit for first using the term romantic? And you know that it is Friedrich Hegel, because when I explain the term and its propounders, I give this example, that Friedrich Hegel. Then Friedrich Hegel was an German poet and literary critic, philosopher. He was a zealous promoter of the Romantic movement. So this term romantic came from Friedrich Hegel. Then Gudrun is a character in a novel by, so it is a character, you know, that Women in Love by D.H. Lawrence. So it was published in 1920 by D.H. Lawrence. It is a sequel to his earlier novel, which is The Rainbow, which was published in 1975. So Women in Love, and it is a sequel to the earlier novel, which is 19 which was published in 1974. July's People is a novel by, so July's People is a novel by Nadine Gordimer, right? So he is a Nobel laureate. Julius People is published in 1981, novel by South African writer Nadine Gordimer. Gordimer wrote the book before the end of apartheid in her prediction of how it would end. The book was notably banned in South African after its publication. So Nadine Gordimer is a Nobel laureate, and he wrote the novel July's People. So it was also banned. Then heroic couplet. You know that Alexander Pope always used heroic couplet, and in his Paradise Lost he used heroic couplet. So heroic couplet is a traditional form of English poetry commonly used in epic and narrative poetry, and consisting a rhyming pair of two lines. So there will be two lines in iambic pentameter. Okay. So the answer will be a rhyming iambic pentameter lines. Then Gestalt theory. So Gestalt theory of literature consider text as, so it consider text as the organization and meaning imposed on secondary data during the process of perception, and often quote summary of Gestalt theory. Gestalt mean whole or pattern, is the phrase the whole is more than the sum of the parts. So Gestalt mean the whole is more than the sum of the parts. So the answer will be B, means a unified whole. So Gestalt theory considered the text as a unified whole. Then Margaret Lawrence is a novelist from, so Margaret Lawrence is a novelist from Canada. Was a Canadian novelist and short story writer. She was a founder of Writers Trust of Canada, a non-profit literary organization that seeks to encourage Canada's writing. Then Saturday Satyrs, you know, the Saturday Satyrs was written by Carly, and Saturday Satyrs meaning the tailor retailer is a 1936 novel by Thomas Carly, first published as a serial in 1833 to 1834 in Fraser's magazine. The novel purports to be commentary on the thoughts and early life of German philosopher called Diogenes Theophilus. So it is about this German philosopher Diogenes Theophilus, and it was written by Thomas Carly in 1836. Then who of the following is not university wit? So it is a common question, and the answer will be Webster. Webster is not a university wit. Thomas Kidd also not a university wit, but he is addressed as university wit. So the university wit is a phrase named to a group of 16th century English playwrights who were educated at the universities from Oxford and Cambridge, who became popular secular writers. Prominent members of this group were Christopher Marlowe, Robert Greene, Thomas Nash from Cambridge, and Thomas P. Lilly and Lodge from Oxford. Kidd is not from this group, but he is sometimes included in this list although he was not from a university, and Webster does not belong to this group. So Webster does not belong to this group, but Thomas Kidd sometimes included in this group, though he did not go in any university. Okay, so if they give you Thomas Kidd in option, you can choose him as a university wit. Then Bosola is an important character from the Duchess of Malfi by Webster, and it is a tragic play by English dramatist John Webster. The play begins as a love story with the Duchess. So Bosola is an important character there from there. Then bliss was it in that dawn to be alive, but to be young was very heaven. This occurs in a poem by the French Revolution as it appeared into enthusiast at its commencement. So it was written by William Wordsworth. Bliss was it in that dawn to be alive, but to be young was very heaven. So the above lines occurs in the poem The French Revolution as it appeared to enthusiasts at its commencement, written by William Wordsworth. The above lines in the fourth or fifth line of the poem. Then, A Dance of the Forests is a poem by Holswenka. So, it is a poem by Holswenka, is one of the most recognized of Holswenka's plays, first presented in 1960. In it, Swenka espouses a unique vision for a new Africa that is able to forge a new identity free from the influence of European imperialism. A Dance of Forest is a play by Holswenka. Then the first Canadian poet is the first Canadian poet is Charles Heaviside, who was born in 1816 and died in 1874. Was a Canadian poet and dramatist. He was one of the first serious poets to emerge in Canada, and his play Soul was hailed on its appearance as the greatest verse drama in English since the time of Shakespeare. Then Heroic Quatrain. Heroic Quatrain is a poetic stanza consisting of 4 lines of iambic pentameter, rhyming alternatively. The first and third lines and second and fourth lines rhyme similarly. Every line has 10 syllables and every alternate syllable is stressed starting with the second. So it is called heroic quatrain. Then Bildungsroman, Bildungsroman means coming of age novel, and its translated literary means that a development novel. So in literary criticism, a Bildungsroman novel is a story of general growth rather than self-cultivation. Hence, it is also known as developmental novel. So that's all today, and I hope you will like it. And if you have any queries, please you can ask in the comment section. Thank you for giving your time.